Thank you, everybody, for joining us here at Cytta Corp's channel. Just want to let you all know what we're going to be doing with this video series here. We'll be running through company updates and industry updates and answering any questions you guys have for us. So if you have any during any of this, please don't be afraid to send them over. We will, of course, be introducing members of the team. So who better to kick us off with video number one than Chief Executive Officer of the company, Gary Campbell. Gary, how are you doing today? You ready to talk about yourself a little bit?
I'm doing great, Michael, and talking about myself always comes easy. So basically, I'll start in the early years. So I'm originally a securities lawyer from Canada. I'm a Canadian citizen and I'm a U.S. citizen, so I'm dual. Practiced securities law in Vancouver for quite a while, had my own firm, always had a fascination with technology. So originally when I started in Vancouver, it was mining and oil and gas, and the industry here was really pushed in those directions only. I had the fortunate experience of working with the Securities Commission here in British Columbia while I was still in law school, and actually became the lawyer before I was a lawyer, but that's kind of an interesting story. So once I started practicing law, it quickly became apparent to me that the securities industry is really where I wanted to go. Okay. So we formed our firm and concentrated on securities, and became one of the more successful firms in Vancouver in that regard. A couple of years in, I worked with the Vancouver Stock Exchange to create the industrial board, because my fascination has always been technology, and I have quite a good background in it, mostly from science fiction. So I spent a lot of time imagineering things, and my developers are always saying, well, how are we supposed to do that? I said, well, it's got to be possible. So we work from that point of view, and that's really key with my team, is also imagineering things. That's where we've come up with some interesting technology. So from there, during that Vancouver career, basically, I took International Verifact public, which was the first credit card verification terminal, and the one that everybody uses now. So that was a very good success in the first 10 years, and successes tend to come about every 10 years when you're introducing bleeding edge technologies. Yeah. So we did track phone as another project, which is the talk and toss phone, which was really the first MVNO in the US. So we put that together and introduced that to the marketplace. And then, literally, for me, after I sold the firm in '87, I was just financing projects with a group of friends. We always stayed small. I like working with the smaller markets in the US because it gives me and my friends a chance to really take a shot at bleeding edge technologies. And, I'm fascinated by all technologies, but when I see something that's really astonishing, I love to work with that. So in 2009, Cytta Corporation was introduced to me and by some friends who had the company. It had some ophthalmic technology, and the connection was fairly strange. I'd fallen while rollerblading in 2006.
Okay.
And I tore and detached both my retinas, so I was literally blind. Wow. And then through a series of really complicated operations and things which I won't go into, I got my sight back, and it turned out, really, they did a great job. So I'm very, very lucky about that. But my friends had this company with that, and they literally said, well, because of your fascination, with your eyes, and we developed a medical technology, remote medical monitoring technology, partnering with Samsung in a private project a number of years before that. So the vehicle looked like a perfect opportunity to develop that technology, and it very much, it was a really interesting way to go. So we spent most of our first years developing a remote medical monitoring technology, gain with a cellular phone basis. We got a lot of uptake from some very big medical groups, and we were doing really quite well until Obamacare hit, and there was no longer a marketplace for remote medical monitoring. So the other people that, Philips had the same problem, Honeywell had the same problem, and so Cytta had the same problem. However, one of our very, very strong advisors out of Washington, D.C., introduced me in, I think it was 2012, to a compression technology. And that compression technology was something that the DoD was looking at, and they were doing, some really interesting projects. The problem was the people behind the project were typical inventors, and I say that in a good way, because everything to an inventor with new technology is $1 billion, and also none of the other people that are working in the industry know anything. So they were a complicated group to deal with, but he and I are really quite good at entering into that type of arrangement. So we entered into all of the agreements at that point for what we call our super compression technology, which is a absolutely brilliant paradigm shifting compression technology that changes the way that happens. And because of that direction, Cytta was able to shift gears very, very quickly when it appeared that remote medical monitoring wasn't going to work very well for us. So we've been concentrating on that ever since.
So let's recap a little bit. So you started out kind of in the securities markets and law, and then but you had this fascination for technology. And I'll say, first off, the way you say you Imagineer things, that's obviously paid off. If you think about what people used to think was sci-fi, it's pretty much here now. Even like this conversation we're having right now over the video chat reminds me of the old, like, James Bond with the watch, being able to talk to people on that, or the villain would come on the big screen and so on. So yeah, I mean, you're definitely on the right track there. And it's interesting how you wound up involved with Cytta, but it is good that you guys were able to kind of pivot and roll with the punches there, as obviously any company has to, with macroeconomics and politics coming into play. So the next video, Gary, I'd love to kind of dive deeper into Cytta itself, but kind of wrapping up this conversation about you. Tell me what it's like then being the chief executive officer of the company. What is that role like? What do you handle?
Well, when you start out initially, you handle everything. Or, if you're lucky, you have one or two close friends that work with you in terms of Cytta. We brought in Eric Stephenson very early, and he and I have been very close. So he's again another great Imagineering fellow, and we collectively baby the company along. So when you're in originally bulletin board or now OTC markets, there's nobody to help you. And none of the conventional capital raising mechanisms work. You can have, a unicorn capable technology, but if you're not picked up by one of the major players, you don't ever have a unicorn. So, you have to nurture your unicorns along, or become a nascent unicorn, as I say, waiting for the opportunities to present themselves. And that's really what it's like. So you fund a company, obviously it's great if you can, add your funds to it. And, that's always a great backstop. But generally, you move your technology along. It's like pushing a rock up a hill, and you have some close friends that work with you, and you put the capital together to do it. And at a certain point, you meet the right groups of people, or the technology's moved along far enough, and then things start going exponential. And we've been really lucky with Cytta. In the last year and a half, it's really been moving exponentially.
Good. Well, hopefully we can walk everybody through the story and answer any questions around that movement and what's coming next, everybody. But I guess the very last question I'll ask you, Gary, before we go today is what are you? We're now almost 75% of the way through 2022. Years speeding by. What do you think? What are you most excited about for what's in store for the rest of the year?
Well, there's three amazing things we've just done. We spent most of the last year developing our IGAN 2.0 technology, which leads on the very basic program that we had where it allowed you to share audio and videos among the parties. So now we added intelligence to it. We added a huge AI component and a dashboard. So it does all kinds of amazing things. So since we've introduced that technology, we were looking for reference clients, and one of the big reference clients that we just put the technology in literally in the last week and a half is Dallas Fort Worth Airport, which is a specialty situation where you have police, fire, and major security operations at the same time. So all of those groups collectively will demo the equipment, and then it'll spread from there. Our second major reference client is the sheriff that we'll be installing in later this week. I haven't announced where or what yet, so that's happening, but that gives us a whole county. It gives us every school in the county. It gives us a lot of religious institutions. So literally this one county could be 600, 700, 800 installations for us, and then it's going to move from there. So that's very exciting that we're starting to do that. And the biggest one, which is literally happening today, we work with the World Conservation Society on an environmental side on conservation efforts, research teams they send out. So they approached us and said, is it possible using your technology that our team going into the middle of the Amazon jungle with no connectivity whatsoever, our baby turtles are coming back in to lay their eggs in this week, and we want to know if you can possibly stream. So we're literally, for the first time in history, streaming from that remote location, images, video, full high quality video of the turtles doing that, and you'll be able to watch that in real time on their website with their members. And then from there, we'll be able to do. Most of the team are very, very committed environmentalists. We all have backgrounds in that area. So we're just so excited. We're going to be able to have people's research projects utilizing our technology. And the first time you'll be able to see, poachers in real time with the video coming from the drones from anywhere in the world. You'll be able to see things that are happening, and including under the sea, which is another part of that project that we're doing.
Under the sea, just in time for the new Little Mermaid video.
Yes, we're cognizant of that, but
unrelated.
Yeah, somewhat.
Gotcha. Well, Gary, listen, I think you did a great job introducing yourself. We've got to know about your past a little bit and about your role there at Cytta Corporation. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you, everybody, for watching. On the next video, we'll do more of a company overview, talking business models, paths to revenue, and so on. So stay tuned for that, and let us know if you have any questions. Don't be shy. We'll get back to you as soon as we can. Gary, any closing words before we go from you?
Yes, it's it's very exciting to be with something this way and see it come to fruition. So I'm just the next year and the next 2 years for all of us, and hopefully the people in the world that we can help with our technology. That's a dream come true.
Perfect. Well, Gary, thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to chatting again soon. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye.